Marco Rubio, Kirsten Gillibrand, and other senators are trying to get more money for AARO, which apparently has not even fully funded. It only has like 3 people in it. This is nuts. All right, let's get into it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and smash that bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Please join me on social media. There are Facebook and Twitter links below. Please follow those links and join me on social media, and please share this video when it drops on social media. Okay, and of course, comment on the story as I'm going through it. All right, so this is from the Daily Mail exclusive. Marco Rubio and Kirsten Gillibrand lead bipartisan group of 16 senators slamming inadequate funding for Biden's UFO office, which, now they don't like it as Biden's office. When Marco and Kirsten liked it, it was their office. I just think that's funny. I mean, that's not a political thing. That's just funny. Their office, which had just 3 staffers tasked with finding the truth. AARO had 3 staffers tasked with finding the truth about mysterious objects flying over the U.S. All right, so the Pentagon office in charge of investigating UAP like those shot down over Alaska, Michigan, and the Yukon this month. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about the ones that were shot down, the Balloon Gate. I don't know what those were. The first one was unambiguously a balloon. After that, it gets very fuzzy, and apparently that is by design. Some say this is disinfo. It's a false narrative trying to get people scared of an alien invasion, because they did kind of lean into that a little bit, saying they weren't ruling anything out. But that's not my impression. I don't think they were trying to put out a false narrative about an alien invasion. When they want to put out a false narrative, they're much more overt about that. They're not beating around the bush. They go for it. So, but what those objects were, I don't know. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions about those objects. And it's very weird that they have called off the search for all 3. 1 or 2, okay, I'll buy it. Inhospitable conditions, sure. Hard to get to, under the water, whatever. But all 3, something's fishy there. Something's fishy. But I don't know if that necessarily means anomalous. Anyway, the office has allegedly been slow to grow and is desperate for funding, despite the global spotlight on unknown objects flying in America's airspace that led to 4 Sidewinder missile takedowns by U.S. jets this month. It also led to the creation of a new office looking into the exact same thing, at least according to the early reports during Balloon Gate. Biden was said to have created something called an interagency program to look into UFOs, which is kind of hilarious because like 2 months ago, or maybe 3 months ago now, AARO was officially signed into law. Both Democrat and Republican senators say they have complained for years about the U.S. military ignoring UFO reports and the security risks they entail. And now a group of 16 senators, led by Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida and Democrat Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, wrote to the Pentagon Thursday asking for more money for AARO, warning that it is facing a funding shortfall that will impede its ability to fulfill its mission. Yeah, so will having Sean Kirkpatrick as its director, but I'll save that rant for a little later. And here's the letter. You can read it at your leisure. While we recognize there was an administration request for funds in fiscal year 2023 to fund basic operating expenses for AARO, it is facing a funding shortfall that will impede its ability to fulfill its mission, the letter said. The amount outlined in the classified attachment is crucial to AARO's scientific plan. So they're not telling us how much they're spending. That's kind of interesting. I really wonder what that budget is and why is that classified? Why can't we know what they're spending? I mean, we're paying for this. We're paying for this, right? This is taxpayer-funded program. Why is that classified? The letter adds that 2024 budgets, which are all but finalized, do not include adequate funds either. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, was set up by the Pentagon in July last year to probe unidentified objects in U.S. airspace, underwater, and in space. It took over from a previous office with the same job, which in November 2021 had just one staff member, and that was the UAP task force. I think it switched heads. I think the first head was Jay Stratton, aka Axelrod, who is haunted by a werewolf, or was haunted by a werewolf. And I don't say that jokingly or to belittle him in any way. That is freaky stuff. But check that out. Check out the book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, which details a hitchhiker effect that Jay Stratton and his whole family suffered from his time at Skinwalker Ranch. Phenomenon followed him back home, as it tends to do, and it took the shape of the Dogman or Wolfman or Skinwalker that it occasionally takes for whatever reason. Is that the actual Skinwalker? I have no idea, but multiple people saw it. I think all his immediate family saw it, and other people as well. And so he was the one leading the UAP task force. And he was also, I think, the original leader of ATIP before Lou took over. I think I'm remembering that right. But if I'm not, he was also at Skinwalker Ranch, and he's been around in the game for a long time and is a really interesting character. And now he and Travis Taylor have joined a private company and are positioning themselves possibly to reverse engineer alien technology. I've already made a video on that. Check that out. Very interesting. Anyway, AARO took over from the UAP task force, and there's Sean Kirkpatrick, my favorite person. Until recently, they had full 3-time staff. That's just pathetic. That's really pathetic. I mean, I don't like Sean, but he needs the people to do the job, even if the job is obfuscating and hiding the truth. At least he needs some robust resources to obfuscate. How is he going to obfuscate without a few more butts in the seats, right? I mean, come on. They have a couple of extra helping hands, but it's a small office in Crystal City, Virginia. However, I suspect they are in the process of bringing more on board. When I visited the place, the office was pretty much a cave of the winds, another source close to the office said, mostly empty desks, but there were perhaps 4 to 6 people around, as I recall, including Sean Kirkpatrick and his deputy. I don't know who his deputy is. Maybe it'll say. It is certainly true that AARO did not receive adequate funds to support its work, to include money for research and development and analysis. The resource added that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, is meant to assign a deputy to liaise with AARO, but has yet to do so. Okay, interesting, but I think that is a different deputy with the ODNI. Bob Solis, I probably want to talk about that in a future video. Yeah, that's him right there, talking about UFOs showing off nuclear silos. But that's a different conversation. The point is that Gillibrand and Rubio are trying to get AARO funded for some reason. It's not been fully funded. I don't quite understand why or how that would be, since it was, funded in the bill that was just signed into law, 3 months ago. So, they say that it was created in July or whatever, but it wasn't officially funded in a real thing until very recently. So, why aren't they getting the money? What is going on? I almost don't care. I almost say screw those guys, because they're lying and hiding the truth. They were designed and set up to be the first UFO program in the government and the public purview to actually talk to the public and reveal some measure of the truth to the public. But instead, Sean Kirkpatrick is continuing the tradition of Bray and Moultrie from the UAP task force, who took over after Jay Stratton. That is my understanding. They lied and obfuscated to the American public and lied to Congress. I just brazenly lied. And Sean is continuing that tradition. Basically, all we know from him is what was released in the UAP report to Congress that just came out a month or so back. And there were only 3 items in the report. There were no health effects from UFOs. That's what the report claimed. That was a lie. There's no collisions from UFOs. That's a lie, shockingly. I know you would think these things would not collide with things, but apparently, occasionally they do. And there's many cases where they have. And also the other big thing was the number of cases. And they fudged the numbers. Even the numbers were a lie. They fudged the numbers so that there would be more explained cases than unexplained cases. And when I say they fudged the numbers, I mean Sean Kirkpatrick fudged the numbers. So I am really not a fan of Sean or Bray or Moultrie or the government's long-standing tradition of hiding this stuff from the American public and from the world. The phenomenon, the UFO phenomenon, and the greater phenomenon of which it is a part, because the UFO phenomenon blends almost seamlessly with the more metaphysical and woo-woo stuff. I think 1/3 of all alien abductees are near-death experiencers, people who have died, been to the other side, and come back. Many UFO sightings and contacts are accompanied by poltergeist activity. And I could go on and on and on and on, but yeah, so the UFO phenomenon is tied up with much, you could say more interesting aspects, the more metaphysical stuff, right? So, I can understand the nuts and bolts stuff. It's harder to wrap your head around the weirder stuff, but that's kind of what makes it fun and interesting, right? But anyway, so that's neither here nor there, but AARO, for whatever reason, is not being funded. Sean Kirkpatrick may be a liar and an obfuscator, but he should be allowed to do his job, and maybe he can learn and grow and evolve and be more forthcoming in the future. At any rate, if AARO is not in existence, that is, it's not even funded properly, how can it be expected to do any sort of job? That does not excuse Sean from lying and obfuscating. But if we have any hope at all of disclosure coming from that avenue, they at least need to be funded. So I do support this effort by Gillibrand and Rubio to get it funded provisionally. Provisionally means that Sean Kirkpatrick needs to be honest. Maybe he can't go there with everything. He's not going to open with alien abductions, of course, but at least he could say, absolutely, there's some sightings and there's more unexplained than explained in the cases they are looking at, because they are only supposed to be looking at the anomalous cases. So, and he could be honest about health effects. He could say, you know what, maybe there are some health effects. Maybe there's some radiation issues and some cancers and some, maybe even some unexplained pregnancies. So maybe he can say some of this happened. Maybe he won't go to the unexplained pregnancies first, because that is tied in with the alien abductions. But you get my point. He can be slightly honest and slightly forthcoming, and at least he doesn't have to lie. Maybe he can say, I don't know, or we can't talk about that yet. But lying is bad, because how can you walk back from that? How can he, in the future date, say, you know what, there are health effects, there are collisions, maybe there are a bunch of unexplained cases. How can he say that when he's already publicly stated that these are the numbers and this is the situation, there's no health effects, etc. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Very, very mixed thoughts on this. I had high hopes for AARO, and it has let me down, but I don't know if we're going to get anywhere without AARO. So I'm going to hope that they get their funding, and we'll see where it goes from there. It's still in its infancy, and maybe it will get a new director or a new directive because I'm sure that Sean is taking orders from someone. So, and it's the same person telling Bray and Moultrie what to do as well, or entity. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please give this video a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash that subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. And join me on social media. Links are below. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.